So before the movie begins, they have the intro with the Warner Brothers logo. In the previous animated movie, they had Daffy Duck come out and bounce around and hoot and holler and, like do what he normally does. And then they had Scorpion reach out and grab him and says, "Get over here!" In this one, they had Scorpion come out to do some martial arts moves, some punches and flips and stuff. And then Shaggy from Scooby-Doo reaches out and grabs him and he goes, "Get over here, man!" Which means that they have officially made Ultra Instinct Shaggy canon. I can't believe it. Now they just need to have him fight Big Chungus. Warner Brothers, you own both these characters. You can make it happen. Do it. Anyway, Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms, aside from being a ridiculously long title, is a direct sequel to the previous animated movie Scorpion's Revenge. So after the last tournament, Shao Kahn has his forces attack Earthrealm because he's a sore loser, and a lot of the Mortal Kombat characters, as well as some nameless fodder, try to fend them off. But Shao Kahn decides to strike a deal with Raiden and the gods and say that we should have one more tournament, winner takes all, and they agree to that, and even Raiden decides to participate. This wasn't really much of a spoiler because it was shown in the trailer that he was fighting alongside the others, which normally he wouldn't be allowed to do that because he's an immortal, but he decides to give up his mortality in order to help defend Earthrealm. Meanwhile, Shinnok, the Mad God, is trying to awaken the One Being, which is this giant deity who, once he's awakened, he'll merge all the realms together and it'll be just complete chaos and destruction. So Scorpion, after dying in the first movie, had the key that he stole from Shang Tsung, and because he died with the key on him, his soul is kind of intertwined with the key, so now he's the only one that can open the door to get the final piece of the One Being. And they brought in a whole bunch of new characters from the franchise. We get Kung Lao, descendant of Kung Lao, which has always been confusing to me. Stryker shows up again, for those of you who care about Stryker. Has anyone ever cared about Stryker? And we get to see more of the ninjas. There's Smoke, who we see for a little while, and Sector and Cyrax. Yep, good old ketchup and mustard show up, in their android forms, of course. We very rarely get to see them in their human forms. It's one of the things Defenders of the Realm actually did that most other versions of Mortal Kombat didn't do. Also, the later games, also. And we get new Sub-Zero, and for those of you wondering why Sub-Zero is back, well, this is a different Sub-Zero. It's the younger brother of the one that Scorpion killed in the first movie, and he's out to get revenge for him killing his brother, but of course it was a whole misunderstanding, and they try to do like a whole thing where he tries to explain to him, what happens and how revenge isn't like the best path to take, but that's kind of one of the problems with this movie. There's a lot going on, and there's so many characters that it's hard to put focus on any one of them, and it seems like they tried to do a lot of things like that. They wanted to give characters good development and good motivations and stuff like that, but there was just so much going on that a lot of times things got cut short or they weren't as good as they should have been. And I think one of the biggest problems with this movie is kind of reflected with Sub-Zero here, because we don't really get a whole lot of time with certain characters that we should. Like, this could have been like a big thing, but it was kind of pushed aside by a bunch of other stuff, so we didn't really get a whole lot of character development for him, and what we got was kind of rushed, because he was on this whole thing about getting revenge for his brother, but then Scorpion said, I've been on that path before, and etc., and then suddenly they're allies. So yeah, we didn't really get to see a whole lot with that. And they did cram a lot into this movie. We even get to see a whole bunch of new characters. Some are recognizable from, early versions of Mortal Kombat, and they even have a whole bunch of new characters like Devora, who is from some of the more recent games. Truthfully, a lot of characters in this are just kind of cannon fodder, which is a shame because some of them, I guess, are fan favorites. I'm not going to spoil too much about this movie, but yeah, let's just say a bunch of characters don't make it, which is, pretty standard for Mortal Kombat. You can kind of expect that. And if you do know the story of Mortal Kombat, you kind of know the fate of certain characters. But it's just a shame that they introduced all these characters, and then most of them barely even got any speaking lines. They were just kind of there to be punched and killed, and that's about it. Although I will say the animation in this is really good. The fights are great. And you get a lot of fights in this movie, more so than the first one. And just, they're so well done that you feel every punch, every hit that happens. And of course, it's extremely gory. I mean, yeah, again, Mortal Kombat, this is what you expect. And this is an R-rated movie, so there you go. I do have to wonder, though, what is it like animating scenes like this? Like, you have to spend weeks, maybe even months, animating a scene of a guy getting ripped in half. I mean, you'd have to have a real strong constitution to have to deal with that for God knows how long. Must be rough. Also, Johnny Cage was kind of ridiculous in this. Like, I know it's his whole thing to be kind of the comic relief character. It's, one of the things people really like about him. But in this one, he was, like, particularly stupid. Let me put it to you this way. He gets eliminated from the tournament from getting hit in the dick. Yeah, I'm not kidding. He gets punched in the groin, and then he's eliminated. That's it. That's it for him for most of the movie. Except for the very end, but still. I mean, in the first movie, he had this whole thing where he wanted to prove himself to everybody, and I think it was done very well there, but here, it feels like they just backpedaled on him quite a bit. It's kind of a shame, really. But I think the biggest problem with this movie, and I already alluded to it, is there's a lot going on. There are two big plots happening simultaneously. There's the tournament with Outworld, and then the whole thing with Scorpion and Shinnok and him trying to awaken the one being with Cyrax and Sector and Sub-Zero trying to follow him and stop him. And they were very parallel to each other, and they didn't really converge until the very end. So I feel like there was just way too much going on in this movie. I feel like they could have very easily split this into two films. Like, maybe allude to the stuff with Shinnok in this movie, but focus entirely on the tournament. And then with Shinnok being established, they can finish up the tournament, get all that out of the way, and then lead into a third movie where Shinnok is the new big bad that everyone has to face. I feel like that would have worked a lot better. I'm not going to do spoilers or anything, but I will say that I did really like this movie, but I feel the first movie was just a little bit better. Mostly because it had a more focused plot and all the characters were intertwined with the plot. There weren't two plot lines going on simultaneously. And there were a lot less characters too. So the first movie had a lot more time to breathe and we had a lot more time with most of the characters. Well, except for Liu Kang, but they kind of remedied that in this movie. We got a lot more time with him and we got a lot more backstory, which I think is very important considering he's supposed to be like the main character of Mortal Kombat. For the most part. And I will say that despite the flaws, especially with this movie, the animated Mortal Kombat movies are probably the best Mortal Kombat content we've gotten outside of the video games. I mean, the first movie was really good, and a lot of people still like it to this day. The new live-action movie was good, also. I didn't dislike it, but I thought there were a lot of weird decisions made with it, but I still think it was a decent film. And then we have all the rest of the Mortal Kombat stuff, which is ranging from bad to just kind of mediocre. So yeah, by comparison, these movies are definitely the best. I don't know if there's plans for any more, but I honestly wouldn't mind seeing another movie. There are still a lot of things that they can explore in Mortal Kombat. There's still a lot of characters they haven't established yet, so I wouldn't mind seeing a third movie. I just wish they would just backpedal it just a little bit and not throw so much into it like they did with this movie. That's also one of the problems with Mortal Kombat Armageddon, because they just threw everything they could possibly think of into that movie, and it was just kind of a mess. But at least this movie is a little bit more watchable than that. Just a little bit, But yeah, that's all I got from Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.